recorded a video about 5 things that I think suck about ADHD, and there are lots of other things that suck about ADHD, but five things that I, in particular, at that moment in time, thought sucked, and still do. But you know, to provide balance, like the BBC, like a good seesaw, I guess, like a well-rounded glass of red wine. I'm looking at a bottle of red wine over there. That's why I'm thinking that. Like a bottle of red wine, I want to provide some balance because there are some good things about ADHD. But before we talk about that, I want to put I want to put a caveat. No, that's not a caveat. I want to put a caveat in place to be clear that yes, there are some good things about ADHD. Would I give up the good things to not have the bad things? I mean, I would. Like, these are good, these things, what I'm about to tell you. But if in a pinch, if you said to me, you know, would I rather just have like a normal-ish life and not have the other stuff? I think I would have to say I would rather just have a normal-ish life, because the bad stuff is really fucking annoying. All the bad shit. So yeah, is the 5 bad things I talked about balanced out by the 5 good things I'm about to talk about? Absolutely fucking not. It really isn't. Either way, there are some good things about ADHD, which we probably should talk about so that people have a view on it and can make up their own bloody damn minds about this sort of thing. Because, you know, I'm not here to tell you how to think, you know, much. So yeah, right. 5 things that are good about ADHD. Number 1, creativity. This is quite creative in its own sort of way. This hand movement I'm doing here is quite creative, I suppose, in its own sort of way. This voice that I'm doing is kind of creative in its own sort of way. Creativity is quite tied to ADHD, I think. If you look at a lot of the most creative people, most renowned creative people throughout history, I reckon you could probably make a good case for a lot of them having ADHD or some other kind of neurodivergence. They might be neurodivergent. The key element of creativity, I think, is putting 2 ideas together, putting 2 things together to kind of create. I can't use create to define creativity, can I? To meld, the melding of things is what creativity is. It's that combination, or yeah, it is that basically. And so we are quite good at that with us ADHD bods, because we are constantly thinking about multiple things at once. We're looking at things from different angles. When I see a thing over there, I'm also seeing a thing over there, and I'm thinking, what about if I put those 2 things together? What would happen then? Maybe they would blow up. Maybe they would make a really good TV show. Maybe I might be able to write a song about it. Who knows? Those things together create this kind of magic sparkle. Sometimes they do. A lot of the time they don't. A lot of the time they just create a big pile of poo. But sometimes they create something really interesting, and that's creativity. And that means that we're a bit better at it, actually. I'd go as far as saying that people with ADHD, on the whole, are more creative than people without ADHD. Whether we can actually do anything with that creativity is another matter, because of all the other fucking shite that we have to deal with. But the creative part itself, I think probably en masse, if you take 10 ADHD people and 10 not ADHD people, the 10 ADHD people will be more creative than the other 10. I don't know how you fucking measure this, but let's just, for the sake of this, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, what else? We're good at problem solving. Number two is problem solving. We are good at problem solving. When I find a problem, when a problem arises, when a problem presents itself, when there is a problem, if a problem exists in front of my eyeballs, then I am very I think that's a good way of putting it. No, it wasn't. ADHD people are good at solving problems for a similar reason as we are creative, is we can see things in a different way potentially to other people. So when there's an issue, able to kind of like look at it from an angle that maybe isn't the angle that everyone else is looking at it from. So I'm able to be like, well, have we tried this? And a lot of times when I do that, people are like, no. And I'll be like, well, should we try it? And they'll be like, okay. And then we try it, and sometimes it works. And so in summary, to summarize, we're quite good at fixing problems, sorting shit out. Depending on what area the problem's in, I think if it requires multiple sort of detailed steps, usually that's where we sort of check out. But if it's more like a big picture, like how do we get from A to B, I'll be like, have you thought about a fucking jet plane? And they'll be like, no, we were just thinking about riding horses. I'll be like, how about we put the horses on the plane? And then you got a whole host of other problems. So number five. Number three. Fuck. Is calm in a crisis. We are quite calm in a crisis. I've noticed that massively, actually. It's something I'm very good at for whatever reason it is. I'm not sure if it's like potentially that time dilation thing. Like we're seeing stuff like at a different pace to people. So by the time people are already like processing the crisis, I'm already like, yeah, done that. What's happening next? How are we sorting this out? Most of the time. So every now and again, the exact opposite happens and I completely freeze. Like fight, flight, freeze. I freeze. It's probably 75-25 that I would either be the one person that you want to come to in a situation where someone's about to, I don't know, die. Maybe not that. Nah, well, let's go with that. And then in 25% of the occasion, I'm the last person that you want to come to for that, which makes it a completely pointless superpower, totally ineffective in a way, because ultimately I can't be relied on at all times in a crisis, but sometimes I can. So, either way, the times that I am reliable in a crisis, I'm incredibly reliable in a crisis. I'm brilliant. I will organise the troops, put them in the places they need to be, sort out the buffet cart and get people in order and sort it all out. And meanwhile, people are losing their heads. And, ultimately, as Rudyard Kipling says, that makes you a man. Number 4, improvisation. Not really one for preparation, nor are people with ADHD generally. I think a lot of people, some people with ADHD do prep. You get your preppers. Not those kind of preppers. You get the people with ADHD who are like, I need to know exactly what's happening, when, who, how, why, where, what. That's all of the question words. And are they? No, that's not really a relevant question one. Anyway, they need to know all the details, so they want to be like boom, 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 boom. I'm not like that. A lot of people with ADHD aren't like that. We're much more floaty, flexible. We kind of go, hey, what's this in front of me here? What am I going to do with this? How am I going to make this work? What's the vibe? What's the general direction that we need to go in? Let's fucking do it. Let's just fucking do it. Fly by the seat of our pants, mate. We will see what happens, That probably is one of my favorite elements of ADHD is that like, because I've for so many times forgotten to prepare for things or not remembered a deadline or, whatever. I am incredibly good at being like coming up with shit on the fly, whether that's talking to people, whether that's presenting stuff or writing things or anything really. I'm very good at just being like, here's what's going on up here, and some of this is coherent, so here you go. See what you like about that, mate. Improvisation, good skill that I think ADHD proliferates. Maybe. Number 5, curiosity. I am nothing if not curious, which is a very strange phrase, isn't it, when you think about it? Because it does make it sound like I've got nothing else going on in my life. But I do have other things going on in my life, but curiosity is a big part of who I am, and it always has been, actually. And I think about that now a lot when I'm alone. That sounds really weird. I don't think about that in that way. Whatever way you're thinking is not the way that's not what I'm thinking. Either way, curiosity didn't kill the cat. You know what killed the cat? Whatever happened after the curiosity part, because it would have happened either way. It just might have taken longer. I'm not going to go down that route. I actually think curiosity is one of the most important things that you can cultivate in life, because it means that you're always interested in people, places, things, subjects. You're questioning everything. You're trying to understand the reasons behind stuff, and actually having a curiosity is probably, do you know what? It's probably the one thing that's kept me alive, actually, because there was like so many times where I was like, I don't really enjoy all this shit, what's going on. And the reason I was stayed around was because I was like, but I am curious about what happens next. I'm curious about what 2023 will look like. I'm curious about when we'll have another man on the moon or woman. I'm curious about monkeys, in a way, like what level of intelligence a monkey could get to in my lifetime. It's a bit of a left field one, but it is something that I'm curious about. I'm curious about the possibility of robot vacuum cleaners becoming so good that they can take over from human cleaners. I've got a robot vacuum cleaner. Oh my God, where am I going with this one? I've got a robot vacuum cleaner that isn't it's good, but I still have to vacuum, which feels like it sort of defeats the point somewhat. When will robot vacuum cleaners be good enough that I don't have to vacuum? Very curious about that. Very curious. I'm curious about when Elon Musk will stop being considered important. I'm curious about when Diet Coke will become untenable as a major brand, I guess. I'm just looking at stuff that's around me, if I'm honest with you. There's a Diet Coke can on the table. I do think Diet Coke is bad for you, though. I'm not going to go into that now. I reckon it probably is quite bad for you, though. So yeah, no, I'm curious about shit. And that, I think, is good, ultimately. Because I could not be curious about shit and then I'd be not alive. I don't know if I'm not sure if I'm going as far as that. But I think if I wasn't curious about stuff, I would have struggled to find meaning and purpose, because I don't know the answers to stuff and I want to find out the answers. Sticking around to find those answers out and digging up the answers like a bone man. What do they call them? Paleontologist, archaeologist, one of them. I'm sticking around like them. Famous for their stickability, curiosity. That was the thing that keeps me. See ya.